Hello everyone and welcome to this video. Now today I'm going to be taking a look at this album here. It's by Paul Simon and it's his album called Youre The One. So yes, I'll just be doing the usual thing in this video, giving a bit of background information about the album, then showing you my vinyl copy of it here, and then looking at each of the album songs in detail. So this was Paul Simon's 10th solo album, released on the 3rd of October in the year 2000. The preceding few years had been difficult ones for Simon. He'd spent most of the 90s working on his Broadway musical, The Cape Man, which ultimately proved a huge flop. It was not successful one bit, and was arguably the lowest point of Simon's career. So on this album he decided in a way to return to his musical roots, returning to composing songs on a guitar, because ever since the Graceland album, the material had mostly been written over band jams, and had been very world music influenced. Whereas this one he returns a more folky flavour, but also still retaining a lot of the world music elements. So after writing the songs, they would be worked up with a group of touring musicians he had assembled for a tour to promote the album. I've got one of the shows on a DVD here, Youre The One in concert. Fantastic little concert here. Well, I say little concert, about 2 hours performance there. So that's available on DVD as well. And like I said, he assembled a group of touring musicians who worked with him on this album. So it included Mark Stewart on guitar, who I believe still plays with Simon to this day, when he does live concerts. Abraham L'Oreal on bass, and I've done a bit of research. He's actually the father of Paul McCartney's drummer, because he's called Abe L'Oreal Jr. McCartney's drummer, just a little aside there. And the legendary Steve Gadd played drums on the album. And yeah, the overall tone of the record was a mostly positive one. I think Simon had settled down with singer Eddie Burkell, they'd had children, and he was experiencing domestic bliss for the first time, because he had quite a few rocky relationships in the past, but now he was a settled house husband, quite content in the world. So the album upon release was a critical success. It was nominated for a Grammy Award for Album of the Year, and it was a commercial success too, certainly when compared to The Cape Man. Reached number 19 in America and went gold, and in the UK it reached number 20 and it went silver. However, these chart positions were still disappointing compared to his last two proper albums, Graceland and The Rhythm of the Saints, and also his subsequent top 10 albums like Surprise, So Beautiful, So What, and Stranger to Stranger. Now, perhaps upon reflection, I think Simon maybe feels that this album wasn't maybe recorded or arranged as well as it could be, because on a recent collection of redo songs this one here, In the Blue Light, there's only about 10 tracks on here, but 4 of them are taken from this album, Youre The One. So he does Love, Pig, Sheep and Wolves, The Teacher, and Darling Lorraine. So he all he redoes 4 off the tracks. So maybe it's a record which he's fond of the songs, but maybe not so much the performance or the production or something about the album. But I will show you my vinyl copy of it here. I must say this is quite a rare album, it's never been reissued. I hope it will be, so that more people can get a copy of it and hear it. But yeah, that's it there. I quite like the cover to it. Kind of again, it's it gives it kind of a warm homely feel, the red and orange and brown style of it. It gives it quite a warm feeling. That's the back of it there with the chat listing. And it comes with a inner sleeve, this one, which has all of the lyrics to it. And again, another picture of Simon there, all the lyrics and the musical credits. And then the record itself is just in a plain sleeve, and is quite a generic white label there. So yeah, that is the vinyl record looked at. Okay, so I will now go over each of the album songs in detail. So I'll score each track out of 10, and then use those scores to give us a overall percentage marking for the album.
When I hear you sing Lavender and...
So the record kicks off with a really lovely song called That's Where I Belong, which is, it's really strong opener, I think. It's a very calming song musically, and lyrically it's about being in a place of comfort, and reflects as I said, Simon's mental state at this time, very content with life. And yeah, it's got a great melody to it. It's world music influence, again, some of the instrumentation, but certainly not as prominent as previous albums that you can hear like his guitar like a lot more like all like this song. And yeah, I just think it is a really, really nice song and a great album opener. And I would, personally give it the full 10 out of 10. I think it's a really, really, really great song.
With Darling Lorraine.
And the next song which follows it, I think, is equally brilliant. It's called Darling Lorraine, which is another, which is a slightly longer narrative piece. This one, it's about, it almost touches 7 minutes, this song, but I must say it doesn't outstay its welcome like one bit. Kind of like, as I said, like it's a narrative sort of song, like about like a couple, like growing together, like through like their first love, like through like the ups and downs of marriage, like eventually to like her like early death. And yeah, I mean, although the song, it doesn't really have like a chorus to it, like a main hook like of that, musically it flows and like it follows like the narrative, like so when like it's it's quite tense like the narrative, the music reflects that, but like then when it's a bit more relaxed, like all like reflective, again like the music follows like the lyric, which I really like with this song. So yeah, that one I would give a 10 out of 10 to.
And all my friends stand up and cheer, say, man, you're old, getting old.
Next one up was, I believe, the single taken from the album. It's a song called Old, and it's a kind of like rock and roll sort of like style song, this, which kind of like references like Buddy Holly and like music like which influenced like Paul Simon, like as like he sort of like examines like his like growing age like at like this time, and he sort of like he reference things like he says like he's sort of like people like it's sort of like the situations like he's at like a birthday party and like everyone's saying like, oh, like you're getting old, but then he's sort of saying, well, I'm not really, I mean, because there's like things like which are like older than me, like I mean, like he then sort of like references various like religious texts like and stuff. It gets quite abstract, but overall I think is a fun track. I can understand why it was chosen like as a single, but I don't believe it got very much airplay. Like it's not a song like which is too well remembered like nowadays. So yeah, Old would get an 8 out of 10 from me. I mean, it is still a pretty good song there.
You're the one, you broke my heart, you made me cry.
Next up is the title track, which I think is a really great little song. Quite like the sort of the band scene, very catchy, like electric guitar riff. And lyrically, it is kind of like love slash breakup song. He sort of sings like you are the air inside my chest, and sort of like when love goes wrong, that like we point our fingers and blame. I mean, the musically is very fun. It was quite uplifting, but then sort of coupled that with like these darker lyrics, I think like makes it quite an effective track there. So yeah, that one would get a 9 out of 10.
Deeper and deeper, the dreamer of love sleeps.
So overall, the album so far has been pretty plain sailing. I think that it's really good like up to this point. Fortunately, the side one closes with a rather weak song called The Teacher, which, it's just a song which I've never really liked too much. I think musically it's very dreary, very boring, and lyrically it's just too sort of abstract, I feel like its own good. I mean, like one interpretation I've read about this song is that it's about sort of like cult leaders, like you sort of like lead like their followers like to like destruction. And so while I can hear that in the song, for me it doesn't really make me like it or like appreciate it like anymore. It's a song which it just sort of passes by like on the album without making like any impact. And like if it ever sort of like comes up like on shuffle or that, I just tend to skip it really. Not a song which I'm like overly fond of.
Look at that, look at this, give me a hug, give me a kiss.
Okay, and then side 2 kicks off with a pretty good song called Look at That, which is a kind of has a sort of very pleasant, very kind of country feel to it, very sort of easygoing like lyrics to it, apparently inspired like by like his children, so it is quite a sort of like simplistic lyrics like with sort of childlike wonders, like innocence like to them, and it is a good song, this one here. Like it is like one which I do quite enjoy listening to there. So yeah, Look at That would get an 8 out of 10.
And that's the way it's always been, that's the way I like it.
Okay, and then the next one up is possibly my favourite on the album. It's called Senorita with a Necklace of Tears. And I just love this one. I think it's got a really great lyric, which again, when you listen to it, they're really nice lyrics, but I just don't really know what they're about too much. I mean, I guess it's maybe just again about being happy and contented like with like your life. He sings like that's the way it's always been and that's the way I like it. That's how I want it to be. And it's just a really delicate song, really nice acoustic guitar part, like played by Simon himself. Musically, it's just really restrained. They don't sort of go over the top like on this song like by any means. And I I just think it's a really, really beautiful little song. So yeah, that one would get a 10 out of 10 for me, and I would say is my favourite on the album. The next one up is called Love, which is a more, again, another slower song, this one here, very soft, and again, there's maybe a couple too many, like, of, like, these sort of slow, soft songs on the album. It's a kind of, like, philosophical reflection, like, on love, like he sings, like, it's free as air, like plants, the medicine is everywhere. It's just not a song which I go to outside of the album, really. I mean, it's not bad, like, when it's on, but yeah, it's just a song which, yeah, I'm not too crazy about.
Big and fat. Pig's supposed to look like that.
And then we get for me my least favourite on the album. It's called Pig, Sheep and Wolves, which is for me a bit of filler on the record. For me, Simon he doesn't really sing this song, he more sort of like narrates it. And again, lyrically, I think it's definitely more about sort of politics and society, this one. But I just think it really fails, to be honest. I would say I slightly prefer the more sort of playful and jazzy version he does on the In the Blue Light album there. I just think that's got a bit more sort of like playful flavour to it. Like I think when you take it like as a really serious song, it doesn't really work. But like as a bit of fun, maybe there's maybe something in it. But I do still think fundamentally it is a weak song, and I would only give it a 3 out of 10. Yeah, it's just not a song I like too much.
Peaceful as a hurricane.
The next one up is a song which has really grown on me since I started preparing for this review, because I always thought that I'd never really liked this song too much, but it has certainly grown on me. It's Hurricane Eye, which, yeah, like I said, never really cared about it too much, but I do think that the way the song builds up and changes musically is really effective. He sort of like lyrically, he sort of uses the centre like of a hurricane, like as sort of like a kind of like sort of like a metaphor like for something that's like with like something peaceful but with a lot of turmoil like going on like around it. And yeah, I just think it's a really good song. I think musically it's quite interesting. I think I believe like Mark Stewart's playing like a banjo like or something on it, so quite oddball like instrumental choices like on this song, but a good song though. And I would give it a 7 out of 10 for Hurricane Eye.
I'm heading for a time of quiet.
And then we finish the album with a bit of a downer, a song called Quiet, which is a, quiet and reflective closer. It's kind of got a very similar kind of sort of journey backing to the opening track, like That's Where I Belong. It kind of gives the impression like of him sort of bookending the album, which I'm not sure like if that was like intentional, like, but it's certainly like the idea where I get like from it. Just this song, nothing really happens during it, and I just think it's again a bit dreary, a little bit just sort of like there's nothing really there like with like the song. I mean, like there's lyrics to it, but I just don't really connect with them too much. Like I feel the need to sort of like let's like investigate that then further, like they just don't stand out to me. So yeah, like a slightly disappointing closer there, like in Quiet, which I would give a 4 out of 10 to.
Peace.
So overall, this album would score 72%. So I think this is a probably one of the most inconsistent albums like I've ever reviewed. Like I have to say, I think it goes from the sublime to the rather rubbish, like quite quickly. I have to say. I mean, you've got brilliant songs like That's Where I Belong, Darling Lorraine, You're the One, and Senorita with a Necklace of Tears. But then you've also got quite a few like slow and stodgy tracks like The Teacher, Love, Pig, Sheep and Wolves, Quiet. Just songs which don't really do too much for me. And it seems like in a lot of places like on this album, he's relying too heavily on sort of like lyrical concepts and sort of like extended metaphors rather than sort of strong and like memorable melodies. And it's maybe a bit like of a slow burner, this album. Like it's not one like which you're gonna put on and like instantly fall in love with, like I wouldn't say. I mean, like maybe some of these songs that will start to grow on me like is grow on me, like as like I maybe like start to like grow older, like I might like start to maybe understand like some of the songs like a little bit more. But like as it stands now, I mean, there are just a lot of them which just fail to make an impact for me. But then equally some songs which I love on this album, and where it would sit like in Simon's discography, I don't really know. I mean, it'd probably be towards like the lower end, because he has I would say consistently made pretty strong albums over the years. But I would say like out of like his stuff like post the year 2000, this is probably the weakest album like off like the four like which he's made. So that's been my review of You're the One. So if you're familiar with the album, I would be interested to know some of your thoughts on it, and I will see you all next time for the next video. Goodbye.
On the soul.